Hello everyone, I'm Karuna and I welcome you all to my channel. From the previous tutorial, you have learned about list data type. Now from this tutorial, you will be learning about various built-in functions offered by Python for list manipulation. Functions are not declared as part of the class, so you do not need a dot operator to invoke them. Here is a list of few functions that can be applied on list. So let's have few examples which will help you to understand these functions easily. First, I'm going to create my integer list. I'm putting all the integer elements as I need to work on the min, max and sum function. So here are few elements. Now first function is len, which returns the total number of elements in my list. So here it is 5. Next is the list function. List function is generally used to convert the given values into a list. So let's say if I create here a list variable name and I use the list function and inside I write a string. So it's going to change the string smile into a list, and let's see what gets stored in variable name. So it now contains all the letters of the word smile as individual elements inside the name variable. The list function has also been used many a times in the previous tutorial. Now I'm going to use the print function. As this is the shell mode, you do not need to write print. You can simply write the name of the variable and see its elements. But otherwise, you can always use the print function to print the values of a variable. Next is the eval function, which automatically identifies the type of values given to it. So let's say if I want to input some values, so I'm going to write eval and then the input function. Now you have to decide the type of values that you want to store in variable x. So if I want to input a list, so I'm going to put the values inside the square brackets. And now my variable x is a list type variable. This eval can also be used with strings, integers and other kinds of values in Python. Now is the min function. So to use the min function, you can write min and the name of the variable. So the list variable L contained all these elements. You can see that variable L has been passed as an argument to the min function and it returns the minimum element available in the list. Next we have the max function. It returns the maximum element. Then sum function, which returns the sum of all the elements of the list. So here the sum is 15, which is the result of the addition performed on different elements of the list L. Now we have the sorted function. There is one more method, sort, which performs the similar task, but it is little different from the sorted function. To sort the elements of the list L, you need to write the sorted function and then pass variable L as the parameter. As my elements have already been sorted, you can see that the elements are already in ascending order, so this does not actually make a difference. So here I'm going to create another list with some elements like this. And now I'm going to use the sorted function. This sorted function returns a list of elements arranged in ascending order. By default, this sorted function sorts the elements in ascending order. If you want them to be sorted in descending order, then you can use the function like this. And now the elements that have been shown as the results are all in descending order. So by using this reverse, which is again a different parameter passed to the sorted function, you can set the value to true. So this will reverse the elements of the list. Here are few methods that can be used with list data type. To invoke all these methods, we use the name of the list followed by the dot operator and then these methods. Inside the brackets, we mention arguments or parameters that are needed to get the work done, and some of these methods might not require any values to be passed inside the brackets. Let's have few examples on these methods. So first I'm going to create my list with some integer elements. The first method is the index method, which returns the index of the first matched element from the list. So you can see I've repeated 67 in the list twice, and I want to know the index of 67. So this is how I'm going to use it. N, which is my list variable, dot index, and then the element specified inside the brackets. So it returns the index 1, which is of this value 67, because this is the first occurrence of this number. The second occurrence of this number is here, but this is not returned by the index method. Now we have append method, which is used to append an element at the end of the list. So let's say if I want to add more elements at the end of the list, so I'm going to use the append method like this: n.append 100. This does not return any value, rather it adds value 100 at the end of list n. So you can see 100 has been added as the last element of the list. Next we have extend method. This method is also used for adding elements to the list, but with the help of extend method you can add multiple elements to the list. So this is how we use it: n.extend. Do remember that the parameter or the argument that is passed to the extend methods inside the brackets must be a list itself. So this is how we write it. Let's say if I want to add 5 and 6 together in the list. Now this is my updated list where 5 and 6 have been added at the end. You can also store some values in some other list like this, and with the help of the extend method you can add them to your already existing list. N.extend L. So now 10 and 20 also join the list N. This extend method also does not return any value, as you can see in these lines. This method just performs the task, adds the list to an already existing list N, and then to check the value we can write the name of the variable and get the output. Next we have the insert method. This method is also an insertion method for adding elements to the list, whereas in this case we can specify the position also where we want to add the element. To use the insert method, I'm going to create a list with lesser number of elements, and this is how we use it: L.insert. Now inside the brackets, first we specify the position where we want to add the element. So let's say if I want to add element 4 at position 1. Now you can check your list L. So this 4 has been added at the index where 2 was positioned earlier, and 2 has shifted to the next position. So if I want to fetch the value 2, it is at index 2. L of 2 is 2 and L of 1 is 4, the one which has been added recently. You can also add the elements at the end of the list using the insert method. You just need to specify the correct number. L.insert. Then I write here len of L, comma 10. Now this adds element 10 at the length of L, which means it is going to insert element 10 at the end of the list. If the index that we specify using the insert method is greater than the available values or the length of the list, then it simply adds the value. So let's say if I write here L.insert and I specify some index like 23 and I want to add the value 11, you can see the element has been just attached at the end of the list, ignoring the fact that 23 index does not exist in the list. Now we have pop method. Pop is a method which is used to remove the element from the list. There are different ways of accessing this pop method. If you do not specify any argument inside the brackets, then it simply removes the elements placed at the end of the list, which was 11. That means last in, first out. So 11 was added in the end, and this has been the first element to be removed out of the list. If you want to remove a particular element, then you can write L.pop, and let's say I want to delete element 3. So the index of element 3 is 3. So it removes this element. Now in case if this creates a confusion that I'm removing element 3 and the index that I've specified is also 3, I'll first show you my list. It is 1, 4, 2, 10. Now I want to delete 4 elements. So I'll write here L.pop. Inside the brackets, I'm going to mention the position of 4, which is 1, and you can see the updated list. Please notice that this pop returns the element which has been deleted from the list. If you look at insert, extend, append, these functions were not returning any value after performing their task, but this pop function has given me the value which has been deleted from the list. Now let's see what happens when we try to delete an element from an empty list. So here I have x as an empty list and I write x.pop. It generates an error, index error, which says pop from empty list. As the list X does not contain any elements, this pop will automatically generate a runtime error. Another method to remove elements from the list is remove method. Now in case of pop, you have seen that you can either mention the position or you can simply write the pop method, which will just remove the last element from the list. But by using the remove method, you can actually remove a particular element. So here I'm going to remove 2, L.remove 2. This method also does not return any value. You can see nothing has been shown in the next line when I executed this method. So here you can see the updated list. 2 has been removed from the list. Also, this remove method removes the first occurrence of the given element. So let's say if I create another list, m equal to 1, 2, 3, then some more elements like this. And now if I write here m.remove, as you can see, number 1 is repeating so many times. If I write here m.remove 1, it will remove the first occurrence of the element 1, and the rest of the number 1 have not been deleted from the list. If we try to delete an element which does not exist in the list, let's say if I remove 45, then it returns a value error which says that element X is not in the list. There is another way of deleting the elements from your list. So first I'll show you my list, which is M. This is del, which is not a function. It is known as a statement. So we write it like this, del M, and you specify the index of the element that you want to delete M of 2. This also does not return the value which has been removed from the list. So if I look at my list 2, 3, 4, 1, that means it has deleted the element which is present at index 2, which is this number 1. If I write here del and then m, let's see the variable m now. You can see it has completely removed the list m. That's why this name error has been shown. That name m is not defined. That means my list no longer exists in my code. Then we have the clear method. I'm again going to show you my list elements, let's say this, and if I write here L.clear and check the values in L, you can see it has completely removed all the elements from the list and the list becomes empty. Whereas in case of del statement, you must have noticed that the variable m is gone completely. So if you just want to remove the elements and you want to keep the list empty, you can use the clear method. Next we have reverse method, which reverses the elements of the list in their place itself. Let's have another list. Here I'm creating a mix of data types. Let's have some of them as integers and some of them as float. Now reverse method reverses the elements in their place itself. So that means it is not going to return any value, and this is how we use it, a dot reverse. See, this line has also not returned any value. If I check my variable a, all the values have been reversed in their place itself. That means 90.89, which was the last value, is right now at the 0th index, and 56, ABC and 12. This method does not require any argument and also does not return any value. The results of these methods can also be stored in some other variables. So if I write here A, you can see the values have been reversed. Let's see B equal to A dot reverse. If I check the value of B, as I said, you can store the values, but that does not mean that variable B will get some values. As explained in this line, when the statement gets executed, this does not return any value. So the statement B equal to A dot reverse might not generate any error, but also will not store anything inside variable B. Now we have sort method. The sorted function, as you have seen, performs the task and returns a list of elements. So let's have one list here to get the sort function operation done. And if I show you the working of sorted function again, you can see sorted L, then it returns a list with all the elements sorted in ascending order. But to use the sort method, you have to write L dot sort. Inside the brackets, we leave it empty because I want the elements to be sorted in ascending order. Let's see the values of list L. You can see the values have been sorted at their place itself. So 12, 34, 56 and 67. Now again, to perform the operation in descending order, I am creating a different list here because my list L is already sorted. If I want to sort the elements in descending order, so I'll write here d dot sort and then reverse equal to true. The default value of this reverse argument is false. That's why you get elements in ascending order. So now we are going to check the values of D. They all have been arranged in descending order. Next is the count method, which counts the occurrences of particular element inside the list. So let's say if I write here d dot count and I want to check, let's say 89, how many times this number is coming in my list, then it shows 1. If you have elements which are repeating in a list, then you can specify them inside the brackets like this, and this is going to return an integer value, which is the total number of times a particular element is occurring in the list. Now we have the copy method. Before I start explaining the copy method, first I'll show you something related to list. So I'm creating my list here, A equal to 1, 2, 3. If I write B equal to A, the elements of A will be assigned to B. But with the help of ID function, I will show you something. You can see the ID of A, the position of A is this, where the list 1, 2, 3 is stored and A points to that location. And ID of B is again same. That means both these variables A and B are pointing to the same memory locations. If I make some changes in my original list A, let's say I want to change the value at index 1. I want to make A of 1 as 20. So now I check my list A, it is 1, 20 and 3. Let's check B list, it's also 1, 20 and 3. This happens because list A and B both are pointing at the same location, as you can see here. What if I want to create a copy of the list but do not want them to be modified together? I want to keep one list intact so that changes in one list do not affect the second list. For this, what you can do is, let's see these lists, A equal to 1, 20 and 3. Now I'm going to write here B equal to list A. These are my elements. I'll again show you the IDs of these variables. ID of A is this, ID of B is this. This time it is clearly visible that the ID of B has changed, whereas in the previous example, the IDs of both of these variables was same. Now using this list function, this A has been casted into a list type, though it was already a list, but it has again been casted into a list type and stored in variable B. Now if you make any changes in A, let's say I write here 1 equal to 2. This is my list A and this is my list B. Now this task will help you to retain one list without making any changes in the other copy of the list. This task can be done with the help of copy method also. Let's see how it works. So I am creating two different lists again, x equal to 10, 20 and 30. So to create a copy of list x, I'm going to write here y equal to x dot copy. Now this is my list y. I'll again show you the ID of these list variables. This is ID of x and ID of y. You can see both of them are different, just like the way I performed the task with the list function. So this is another way of creating a true copy of the list, where changes in list x will not affect the list y. There is just one more method of creating the copies of the list. So I'm going to have some more variables because I've already created the list x and y. So let's have L1 equal to 1, 2, 3, and I write here L2 equal to L1 square brackets colon and this. Now if I see my variable L2, but let's cross check that with the help of ID function. This is ID of L1. This is ID of L2. Both of them are different. So there are three ways to create a true independent copy of a list in which the changes done to the original list will not be reflected in the copy of the list which has been created. So first is using the list function, second is using the copy method, and the last one is with the help of this slicing statement. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you have any doubts related to the concepts explained here, please feel free to mention in the comment section and I would be happy to help you. The link to the worksheet can be found in the description box. If you like the video, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for latest updates. Till then, keep working with smile.